Trump officials attack a German consensus on Nazis and speech. The American vice president visited a concentration camp on Thursday afternoon. He laid a wreath at the foot of a statue and the sign of the cross and paused before a memorial wall where in multiple tongues, including German and English, the words "never again" were written. J.D. Vance told reporters he had read about the Holocaust in books, but that its unspeakable evil was driven home by his trip to Dachau, where more than 30,000 people died at the hands of the Nazis. "It's something that I'll never forget, and I'm grateful to have been able to see it up close in person," Mr. Vance said. But after Mr. Vance spoke in Munich the next day, Germany's leaders effectively questioned if he had understood what he had just seen. 80 years after American soldiers liberated Dachau, top German officials this weekend all but accused Mr. Vance, and by extension President Trump, of boosting a political party that many Germans consider to be dangerously descended from Nazism. That party, called the Alternative for Germany or AfD, is sitting second in the polls for next Sunday's parliamentary elections, with about 20% of the public saying they support it. But no other German party is willing to govern with it. That's because the AfD has at times downplayed Hitler's atrocities. Some party members have reveled in Nazi slogans. German intelligence agencies have classified parts of the AfD as extremist. Members have been arrested in connection with multiple plots to overthrow the government. Some reportedly attended last year a gathering that included discussions of deporting not only asylum seekers, but German citizens who immigrated to the country. A commitment to never again is not reconcilable with support for the AfD, Chancellor Olaf Scholz said in Munich on Saturday morning, as part of a lengthy rebuke of Mr. Vance. "This never again is the historical mission that Germany as a free democracy must and wants to continue to live up to every day," he said. "Never again fascism, never again racism, never again war of aggression." Decades of German law and political practice have revolved around the belief that to prevent another Hitler from coming to power, the government must ban hate speech and shun political parties deemed extreme. The nation has an Office for the Protection of the Constitution, with intelligence tools to monitor extremists, and a constitutional court that in rare cases can ban parties entirely. Mr. Vance, like another Trump administration official, Elon Musk, has parachuted into the country's parliamentary elections, criticizing that approach. Both men say it is time for Germans to stop policing speech and to start treating the country's hard right flank as the avatars of disenfranchised voters who share Mr. Trump's opposition to large-scale immigration. Mr. Musk has publicly endorsed the AfD, telling party members last month that Germans have too much of a focus on past guilt. The Musk and Vance prescriptions add up to perhaps the most verboten message in mainstream German politics, made all the more surprising coming from the country that Germans have long thanked for putting an end to a deeply shameful period in their history. A writer for Der Spiegel, a leading German newspaper, declared on Saturday morning that Mr. Vance had given the AfD a Wahlkampfgeschenk, German for campaign gift. Even before the speech, analysts at the Munich conference were warning that the administration's worldview would upend alliances on both sides of the Atlantic. "We have an American government that has different values and a different vision of what the West should be," Gianna Pugliarin, a senior policy fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations in Berlin, said in a panel discussion on Friday. In his speech, Mr. Vance called Europe's restrictions on speech a greater threat than military attack by Russia or China, comparing them to those imposed by the Cold War Soviet Union. "I look to Brussels," Mr. Vance said, where EU Commission commissars warned citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they judge to be hateful content, or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of combating misogyny. Intentionally or not, Mr. Vance's speech landed in the midst of a pair of contentious political debates. Europe is currently struggling with questions of how to handle hard-right parties that have gained voter share. In some countries, like Austria and the Netherlands, those parties have joined federal governments. In others, like France and Germany, mainstream parties have blocked them so far.